First question. How has the remote or hybrid workforce and changing communication styles impacted employment law?
Yeah, it's a great question. I think the direct answer I could think of is that the hybrid and remote workforce has caused more gray areas, sort of more shades of gray when it comes to interpreting and applying different federal, state, and employment laws. And it's also caused more employer side error in that regard. Um, that could be a whole seminar, but to cut to the chase, I can give you three quick examples if you'd like, right? Number
Yeah.
one, sure, workers' compensation law. Used to be a little more cut and dry pre-remote. If we were having this conversation in 2002, let's say, uh, pretty clear about when an employee's injury was covered or not, if they were performing their work, if they were on the job, if they were on the job location, etc. So if Susan was getting a cup of coffee, let's say in the break room, and she slipped and fractured her ankle, covered by workers' comp. But what happens now with the remote and hybrid workforce when employees might be, let's say, forced to work from home? If a company has a mandatory work from home, they create a de facto office in a sense. So now we're seeing all these cases and questions come up in the workers' comp board and hearings and court cases where it's like Susan was actually carrying a printer from her basement up to her home office and she tripped and fell. Was that covered? Was she in the course of her business? And like, what if Susan was working at a Starbucks, and taking a coffee break and got hurt? Is Starbucks responsible? So my point is, it's a little more gray area because it's not so clear cut when someone's on the job. One more brief example, for example, might be when it comes to employee surveillance and monitoring. This is an issue that a lot of state laws cover, and a lot of states will have laws like New York, Connecticut, Delaware, Texas, California all say you have to notify employees when you're monitoring them. That could be like video surveillance, right? Or it could be their internet usage and their email and their computers. And that was kind of clear cut when people commute to the office, you get to your desk, you say hi to everyone, and you're at your workspace, right? There you are. With the remote workplace, a lot more employees are using their private laptops, right, to do work. So when do you have the legal right under state or even federal law to monitor them? And when do you notify them? And, also I'd say that the work schedule has become much more fluid. People don't often just go in, do work, and go home. People are working, then they're putting in a load of laundry, right? Picking up their kid, then they're working at night. So can an employer monitor at night if that's the employee has an expectation of privacy? So these are questions about that, virtual workplace harassment, what's harassment or not, if you're on screen versus in person, all makes to the point that, or supports the point, I should say, that in the remote workforce, it's just a little more of a shade of gray, less black and white answers.